Hello everyone, welcome to her.exe, presented by the Women in FOSS Community of IIT. So, I'm Bhagya.
And I'm Heshan.
And in today's episode, we have Asiri Ekanayake.
Hi everyone.
So, how was things for you during school times?
Okay, so during school, I was not athletic at all. I did a few stuff for sports meet, but athletics was just not it. I was, honestly, I would say more for introvert because as soon as I was able to, I joined our newspaper committee.
The Muses Miscellany.
Yes, so I was there for maybe 2 years, I think, as an active member, and then maybe one more year, the year I was doing A-levels, I was just basically looking in. But that was definitely one of the best experiences of my life. But I was involved in a lot of stuff, I would say, because I would always take part in like inter-house dancing, for a couple of times inter-house drama. I can't act, but I was there, mostly helping with the script. So like I said, introvert, I wasn't on the stage. And I was a tree in grade 6, if that works. So non-speaking roles. And I was a CTO prefect. I think that was a very, I would say, life-changing year because I really challenged myself by being in that kind of leadership position. Yeah, I don't think you will get a similar experience like that being a prefect at school. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah, I think that's how I got to know you was from Muses Miscellany.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it was like a really good time of my life because I didn't know I could do shit. So she came to my class and she was like, "Oh, hi Nanga, you got selected to Muses Miscellany. Like, can I have your WhatsApp number?"
Oh my god, we came to classes
Yeah.
and okay, I thought we just messaged people, but okay, apparently we
Because
went to class.
that was pre-COVID era because the tech was not
makes sense.
So-
Yeah, I guess I didn't have your number, right?
Yeah,
Because we
yeah.
didn't collect numbers. We didn't think that far. We just got the class. We went to the class and spoke to the person. But yes. Yeah, so Bhagya was in the committee when I was the editor-in-chief. There were 2 other co-editors. But yeah, it was just basically a bunch of girls we were working on the English part of the newspaper from like front page to I think page 6. So there was actually a lot of stuff to cover and not enough pages.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely. And then there was this one time that the Sinhala peeps was not able to complete the paper, and then we had to take it off, and then we had that fully fledged English. Yeah, that was our-
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It was, even though we were working on the English part, I remember I had to go talk to the teacher in charge of the
Yes.
Sinhala portion of the paper also, just to see, if we can get the paper out in time. But yeah, interesting year.
It was definitely interesting, and I learned tons from you. Like,
Oh.
yeah, proud mentor-mentee moment.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool that you two actually knew each other from that part of school.
Yeah.
So, apart from the whole newspaper club, were there any other clubs that you took part in?
Okay, so I think I was like a member of some other random, like in the sense I just got, we used to have these membership cards, like 20 rupees, 50 rupees, something like that. So I looked back at my purse and there was like a bunch of those there, but I was never active. The clubs I was somewhat active was maybe the ICT Society. And then ICT Society, I was in the Young Inventors Club, but I was not exactly an inventor. I was just there as assistant secretary. So, just writing letters a lot. So that's more writing. Senior prefect, I already said that. But that was basically it. But those also kind of pretty much took up a lot of time.
Right. So, do you think that like joining all those clubs and everything that you did back then helped you once you were out of school and then went into uni?
Yeah, for sure. Young Inventors Club was a specifically a very how do I say, a very somewhat traumatizing experience. So we were very, like, because there was so much happening. I thought as assistant secretary, me and the secretary were really good friends, and there was no real separation that she was secretary, I was assistant secretary. We were both doing the work. She would send emails late in the night, I'll be printing out those letters, but that definitely helped because let's see, we had a very the traumatizing part I think mostly comes from the workload that was there, because we decided to organize this exhibition after, I don't know, maybe 5 years at our school.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and it was, of course, very last minute, sponsors, and we invited other schools to come. There was not enough food. Oh my God.
The
I don't
usual.
know. Yeah, I basically, like, for a couple of months, I was not doing LOL stuff at all. I was barely in class just because of that. And it was just basically that workload plus, of course, dealing with the teachers. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, some teachers are very nice and some teachers are very helpful, but
There are instances.
yeah, so if you are in a committee, you have to work with a particular teacher for a long time. So that's a bit where the traumatization comes in. But yes, prefectship, honestly, again, it's with like dealing with people, dealing with the Nangis. Actually, that was not too bad. They were just young, It was mostly funny if you go to a primary school class and they tell you about your entire week when you just want to sign them up for inter-house Scrabble, and they're like, oh, I can't come. On Monday I have elocution. On Wednesday I have this tuition class. And I'm like, okay, I don't need to know all the details of your life, but just yes or no, it would be fine. But it was definitely dealing with people, and also I guess dealing with like learning how to work with other people. There was office house committee work. That was mostly okay because within our committee there was almost no issue, pretty much no issues. But there's always that inter-house
drama,
not
like
the competition, but the drama between houses, I guess. And yeah, I mean, looking back at it, it was kind of fun, but at the time it was very serious. Who gets the auditorium when there's inter-house singing, dancing, drama going on, who gets this particular spot at the school, traditions that have to be upheld, unwritten rules. But yeah, I would not change that experience for anything, for sure.
Definitely. So after school, you joined IIT.
Yes.
And how was things there?
Okay, so my A was finished, it was August 2019. 2 weeks later, I was at IIT orientation for first year. Because, there was basically no break between, not much of a break. But again, not something I regret because jumping straight into IIT was, I think, one of the best decisions because, I felt like even though I would have liked a break, I liked that experience of being independent and learning something that I really want to learn after I did A-levels. So university, I really loved the first semester I had at IIT because I did ICT for A-levels. I got the basics down already, so I was able to chill that first semester because we were learning stuff like HTML and Java. Actually, no, not Java, even Python. That was what we were learning, and like the basics of computer systems. And this is something you already would know if you did ICT. So for me, it was very chill, and I really like that, having that independence after school because schools in Sri Lanka have a very strict dress code. Most schools, right? If it's not an international school, there's a strict dress code, no phones, no fraternizing. God forbid you get into a relationship and the teachers find out.
Oh my God,
and yes, and that kind of thing. But when you come to university, you realize, okay, none of this matters. And that I really like that independence and learning what I love to learn. And that very first semester, I remember we had a lot of parties. This was right before COVID, so there was seniors party, Halloween, this and that, Sally's Manor happening. So very, 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 very fun first semester. It was in the middle of the second semester where the workload got harder because suddenly you have to make this entire thing with Java. And like with OOV concepts also, without really understanding what you're doing, you have struggling to get that go past that learning curve. And in the middle of that was when COVID hit. And I still remember the last day we had uni. It was one of our friends' birthdays. we were planning to go out anyway to celebrate, but then our afternoon lecture cancelled. They were just like, go home, like we're shutting down for now. They said just 1 week, but it's not 1 week. So yeah, we went out, we celebrated, and that was basically it. It was after that, it was just COVID. We completed all our courseworks at home. We did Vivas at home. I think because Blackboard was already operating somewhat, like that transition was not too bad, and this was still in first year. By the time we got to second year, we again went for a couple of weeks, and then again lockdown. So entirety of second year we spent at home. That was how we were doing SDGP. I think that's a very different experience for people now, but yeah, for us, even finding a group was hard when you don't know half your batch.
So how was studies during COVID? Because I don't think before this we haven't like learned stuff online. Maybe like a YouTube tutorial for some extent, but fully online, the concept was really new to each and every one of us.
Yes, I would say I actually really liked online lectures. Like not having to travel was such a bonus, and having a recording is such another bonus because most people you don't get what you want to learn the very first time. But having a recording to go back to and refer to, like if you miss anything, was really helpful. It's useful when you're taking notes also. So I don't miss that part. It's just mostly the uni life that I miss. And also getting to know lecturers, because tutorials, especially some tutorials, you actually get to learn a lot from the tutors and the lecturers by being there in person. I remember one of my favorite modules I did was the mobile app development module, and I really loved the development part that came with it because it wasn't something I had tried before. But also we did get a little bit of interaction with the tutor because they would take us out to breakout rooms and make us demo what we did that week for the tutorial, and we got a grade also. So it kept people in line, so people would actually know,
what's going on.
Yeah, and like keep like practice what they're supposed to learn, because you don't want to get a bad grade, I guess. I don't know. I was.
Make sure that there was like some progress being made.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We were doing Android tutorials that are there online. Like if they said just go do it for practice, we wouldn't do it. But when you know you're gonna get graded at each week, you're like, okay, I have to finish this. And because it was a new concept for me, it was really fun as well. So because like small instances like that, we actually got to know the lecturers. But other than that, yeah, they don't know our faces. If they remember our names, that's something.
So yeah, learning during COVID was definitely a new experience. And how exactly did you manage it when it came to like making new friends, or like meeting people when you had to do group projects, making sure that everyone was on board, because you didn't get the opportunity to meet them physically?
Yeah, so for me, I don't know how it was for other people, but basically for the first portion of the year, especially STGP, I just made a group with people that I knew. A couple of friends from school, some people I met in first year, and their contacts. Unfortunately, the group turned out fine. Like we were able to work together very well. But I know for other people, sometimes even if they made groups with their friends, it would have been difficult to work with. And it's, I think, even more difficult if you don't know the person at all. But in that regard, I was lucky because it was people I knew or people someone else in the group knew, and we were all able to come together somehow and do something for SDGP. Another thing that really helped was because I was in the Toastmasters Club and we were having meetings every week. That was basically my social aspect for the entire of COVID. Like other than talking to my friends through text or call, they were like people that my friends are like people that I somewhat know. But how I got to know few seniors, a few juniors, and actually the people in my batch was through Toastmasters, because when we go to a meeting every week and we would be bitching about, oh no, we have this coursework, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that, and we were able to help each other as well. So that I think definitely helped a lot, because I don't think I would have socialized at all during COVID if it wasn't for that.
So apart from the Toastmasters Club, you are also a member of the Mozilla Club. Do you think you could talk about what the experience there was and what you learned that helped you, excel once you actually got into the industry?
Okay, so Mozilla was something I was just thinking. I was in Toastmasters. I had an exco position there. I was the vice president of education, and I was like, I think I have time for one more, which I don't know if that was. I don't know what my mentality was at that point, but I didn't want to go through elections or anything, that serious. But Mozilla was calling for open applications. And it was an interview-based process. I didn't have to, campaign for anything. And I was like, why not give it a try? And I interviewed for, I interviewed for secretary because for some reason I thought maybe it's probably less work than vice president. I turned out to be the opposite. I was just thinking from a Toastmasters mentality, because being the VP education is one of the biggest workloads, being a VP especially, whereas comparatively a secretary would have less work in a Toastmasters context, or like it would be more spread out. But I failed to realize that it's not the same for other clubs that are out there. And secretary is actually one of the most active roles. So
Secretaries does all the work.
yeah, you can't not get involved by being the secretary, because there's always letters to write. There's always
Emails
something to
send.
yeah,
There's
something
always
happening.
Documents. You have to actively involve in each and every aspect of things. Even if it's to do with PR, you have to go and check, okay, where's the caption? Is the graphic content all right?
Yeah, I don't know how. I guess that probably started from our year, I feel, because but so basically when I was interviewing, they were like, "Are you okay with any other roles?" I was like, "Oh yeah, anything's fine, but not direct of media. I can't design, but I can try out whatever." And I did not expect to actually get into the exco. I did not expect even to get secretary, and then I got it.
So this was the second exco after Mozilla was initiated at IIT?
No, actually, when was Mozilla initiated? It was at some time, I think a few years before I was. I was in the exco for the year, I think 2020, 2021, because we started right at the end of 2020, and continued on for 1 year. So I'm not actually sure what exco we are, because we didn't have a formal installation. I should probably know when the club was initiated, but I don't remember now. Maybe it's there in one of the descriptions I wrote back then. But yeah, I would say we are maybe around the fourth or fifth, maybe, depending on when we started. But Brian Fernando was the president. I didn't know him at all. He was in BIS. He had, I think, joined in the January batch. But again, I had not met him in person. I think I knew a couple of people in the exco from first year. And there was another museite that I knew, Bhushika, who was the very first women in FOSS representative, because that year, basically when we were handed the committee, the FOSS had already been initiated by the previous exco, which was great. So we just had to start things along, and Bhushika did a really good job being the first women in FOSS rep. But yeah, I didn't know most of the people in the exco. There were people from BIS, CS, SC, and I think that again we literally got to know each other through the screen, and working together, taking long calls. I remember that call we took to make the first logo, or a new logo for FOSS, which took the longest time, with our director of video, Sanesh. She was just editing stuff on the screen, sharing on Photoshop. Yeah. Again, it was just basically long calls and working together that we got to know and got that experience. And I think one of the greatest things about Mozilla and either taking part in the events or being in the exco is the exposure you get
definitely
to the industry, because a lot of the tech clubs have this, but just depends on what you want to do. But you through finding sponsors, finding resource persons, you get to build a connection with IT companies, and that's very valuable when you go into internship, to be I've taken part in this hackathon that maybe happened to be sponsored by the company, or sometimes for hackathons we get mentors from the industry itself, and that's like a direct connection to someone who already in the industry. That's if you work together with them, and if you work together well, that's basically a reference you can put in your CV. And of course, being the exco, you have to be you are like the contact person. So according to how you present yourself and how the exco works in that event with the company, that again is a really plus point, a really good plus point when internship time rolls around and you have to go to interviews. So yeah, it's the exposure and that experience you get dealing with the industry, I think, especially Mozilla and FOSS has.
How was Open Hack? Because that's the flagship event of the club.
Yes.
And that was initiated by y'all like right after COVID?
It was, oh god, it was a very, I really don't remember well, but it was there in Mozilla before us. We just basically brought it back. And we really wanted to do a hackathon, like a proper hackathon. And it was basically during that time that was like we were kind of moving from being fully online to somewhat hybrid approach, because I remember lectures hadn't formally started, like physical lectures hadn't started yet, or had just started when the event was like completing. But so it initially started to be a fully online thing. People submitted proposals, and then the very first few rounds were fully online.
I think I still see the recordings of all those
Yes.
rounds on the drive randomly popping up.
Probably see me that as well. But the finals, we really wanted to have it physically, like for sure, because we were like, this has to be, we were like, we have to do it physically. So up until semifinals, we did it online, and for the finals, we hosted it at Hatchworks. And the 5 finalist teams were also brought in. And yeah, we invited the sponsors, people from IIT, judges, they were all there physically. I don't remember the logistics much. I was looking into, I was also the MC, so I was looking into that, plus any other, instructions that were supposed to be sent out to contestants, that portion of the and certificates. That was like my sphere of work, but I'm really glad we did it physically. Because after doing, like, we did a lot of events that year, almost monthly, most of the months, the first few months especially, we did okay, now I don't remember the name. Maybe you all can help me.
Was also
That was again an event, but no, I'm thinking about a web series. God, I should remember this. Oh yeah, we were doing this web series once a month called Open Brackets. Basically, invite a resource person from the industry, and they cover different topics like cybersecurity, React.js. We did that specially because for our second year project, and maybe sometimes even first years would need it. Pretty sure we did one on crypto or Bitcoin, because can't ignore that. And like topics like that. That was like some ongoing thing we did to keep the club active. And another thing we started was taking in volunteers, because we realized the workload was too much for us, that there was too much going on, and we thought it would be a good opportunity to give other people a chance to practice some sort of skills, and for us to also see who will potentially be in the next exco when we hand over. And I think that worked out really well. Definitely. But the thing is, I don't know if you overcomplicated the process of getting volunteers, but there was a application process and an interview process, which again took a lot of our time and workload. Yeah. So I remember just people will apply. I look at what they have applied, and I would like kind of sort them out into groups, and I would sort the exco out into groups according to what their specialty. So obviously anyone who's going to be doing design or video editing, the director of media has to be there. If it's something related to writing or editing, me and Bhushika will have to be like that. We were just sorting it out. I don't know if we took it too seriously, but we did get a really good bunch of volunteers because of that, and some of them ended up in the next exco as well, and we got the work done. And there was a lot of different projects ongoing as well. But yeah, the first Women in FOSS event that happened was That's Debatable, a school level debate. We thought of going for university level also, but we realized how hard it is to find judges, because it's the people in university who are judging the debates. So who's going to judge? Like, going even further higher than that to get judges would not be realistic. So we did it at school level, and the theme was mostly women in tech, especially the final ones. But for the first round, that was from like all over topics from all over the place, because can't expect people to debate on the same theme for an entire tournament. But I think that covers most of the events that we did.
I think the traditions are still alive.
Yeah,
we do
definitely.
keep recruiting volunteers. We
That's
follow pretty much the same process. We have the applications coming in, and then I sort it out, and then we have the interviews.
Yeah.
Heshan must be having
Yeah.
very
With a
good.
pretty intimidating first interview. But I think they did a really good job, filtering out who to take in, who'd be a good fit and all that.
It's not actually like to see who fits in or who doesn't. It's to just make sure that we know the person before they come into the club, so we have some sort of connection built beforehand.
Yes, and also basically, how are we going to give them the opportunities? Because we recruited, what did we do? Okay, so there were people for the design team, there were people to write the editorial team for the newsletter, which was absolutely a must to have, because, have to have the content from somewhere, and we can't write everything. Those were the two most critical ones. Other than that, and the PR team, I can't say that's not critical, because there was so much posters going out, so they helped us a lot by writing the captions. I would say especially me, because our director of media would design like the loveliest thing, but the caption has to go with it, and it was usually my job to write the caption. So having other people to write captions, especially for when there's an event and there's an entire campaign of posters and flyers that need to go out, was such a load off my mind. So I just go there, review it, and then pass it on. Those were like the two main teams that were happening, I think. And then we had basically people coming in, help with the logistics. Oh God, thinking about it is just yeah.
So yeah, it's actually pretty great to see how the club has grown over the past few years. I think we're doing good.
I think you're doing good too.
I think you guys set a pretty solid foundation and definitely built up on that.
Yes.
So we have a pretty good team of volunteers now, and we have some pretty good events coming up. So we'll be doing Open Hack 3.0 hopefully soon.
Okay.
And there's a few WIF events as well.
That's great, because we were really not worried, but we really want to get women in FOSS and FOSS out of off the ground doing something, because Mozilla at IIT has been there for some time, but FOSS was an entire new thing, and we were supposed to manage both. So women in FOSS especially, we didn't want it to be pushed to the side, that's why we had That's Debatable, because we had to have one event when we were starting off, just to get that word out that there's a new club as well. And other than that, and we always try to include something relating to women in tech when we publish the newsletter and the blog. That was, I think, another thing we did. But I think you should get Voshika to come and talk about it, because she's the one who had experience, because she was the one communicating with FOSS Sri Lanka, and it was mainly her and Brad, and they were like the point of contact. So but I think one really good thing that being in the FOSS community brought us was that we got to have collaboration events with other universities. It was all online, but having that collaboration going on was really good, and we also got to attend the events that they organized, so that exposure was also there.
Definitely. So how did these things actually help you when you went out into the industry?
Okay, so I would say from Mozilla, I learned a lot about, I'd say, somewhat of time management and also organization. Because, like I said, there was a lot going on almost the entire year that have to be done along with my studies. And again, like I would say, it's being able to speak to people in the industry was also a big help. But I don't think I did apply for the companies that we worked with, but I don't remember if I got an interview now or not. I'll get to our internship process maybe later. But Toastmasters, it helped me in the sense I joined there to build my confidence in speaking, because I just wanted to be more confident when I'm without having to be really, really prepared. That was one of my main goals. And I didn't realize how much it affected me until I got to go to interviews and actually start talking, because taking out the technical part of the interviews, just conversing with people was pretty easy. And like it was nerve-wracking, but I feel like I would have been a lot more anxious if I didn't have that experience being in Toastmasters. And I think that again helped me when I was in the industry as well. Talking to people on the team, talking to people senior than you, asking for help, doing presentations, being able to do that without being too anxious about it was for me was a big thing. And I think if you take the Mozilla aspect also into it, if you're someone who's done hackathons a lot, you would have no trouble doing a demo or doing a presentation, because you're basically pitching something if you have done that, pitch something, proved that your product, your idea is the best one. Doing a demo to your team or to the other teams, it's nothing. It's that experience would also help. I haven't done that, but I know from because in our committee and in Mozilla also there was a lot of people who took part in hackathons. So
Yeah.
And if you were to just ask a few questions on how the whole career fair portion went back in your timeline, because I believe it was maybe hybrid or fully online. So how would that
hybrid, no.
go?
Okay, so let's just make this. We didn't have a career fair. We had a career week.
Oh, right.
It was a week of listening to companies, basically, because they also joined online. There was maybe like 10-15 minute slots per company.
Okay.
And there were two groups going on. So like group A had one bunch of companies, group B had another bunch of companies, but it was all recorded and we were expected to go listen to the other groups just to get an idea, or we can join the other group as well. But that was basically how that was going on. And people got to ask questions also once the company has done their part. But that was basically it. Unless you go there and you ask, what's the tech stack, what am I expected to do in the session itself. They, of course, share the contact so you can reach out separately after the session. But that was basically, it was just like a 10-15 minute slot for the company to talk about themselves. And if you were brave enough, you ask questions that you want to know. That was the career fair experience for us. Like, I know it's very different from going to, BMIC. That's what we were all expecting in first year. We'll have to, because that's what the seniors told us. You'll have to go to BMICH, you'll have to carry all these CVs with you, get to go interview at companies, you might have to do a test then and there. And I guess it's like completely, it itself, I think, would be experience. You will get to go through it at the end of this year. But from what I heard from, again, I never got to experience this. I'm like telling you from second-hand accounts because my friends went to career fair as graduates and as interns last year, and they were like, oh God, there's so much people, there's so much going on. I think it will be pretty overwhelming. But that online experience definitely better than that. Getting to sit down and talk to people, for them to get to know you personally, even if it's like a little bit of time, will probably help. So after that whole career fair, we could apply for CVs. We could apply for companies and send out CVs whenever, even before the career week happened. And some people already had secured internships like that. The overachievers have build a portfolio of stuff and and of course deserve it. But others, most of us, we had to either apply separately or IIT arranged this Google Drive master folder for us where we could upload the CVs to the companies that we want. Each company has its own folder and we upload there. And of course, it's arranged in alphabetical order most of the time. I remember people purposefully changing the name of the CV, it says CV and their name instead of, because C is obviously somewhere higher up in the alphabet than the actual name, stuff like that, because there's a bunch of CVs uploaded in that folder. But yeah, that's basically how it went, and companies would go through it, go through the CVs and give a call for an interview if they're interested. Yeah, it wasn't, I would say, where you get to go there, sit down, talk with them, and then they offer you maybe the next step, or some people get the offer then and there. A completely different thing from that.
Okay. So as someone who's had a couple of years under her belt working in the industry, what technologies do you think would be the most quintessential for people coming in as software engineers for their internship?
Okay, we're talking tech, right? Because IIT now has so much degrees for undergraduate. I don't know what's going on, but I would say something basic, like having your OP concepts down is very important. Mostly Java is what we learn. It's good if you know another language as well, but the concept of it, why we use it, what's the purpose of it, understanding that is quite important, because once you know that, you can apply it to whatever framework you'll be working with. It's always good to know a front-end framework or language and a back-end one, and have a project that you have worked by integrating both, because it gives you that entire view. What I think we had to do this for one of our courseworks as well in second year, so we got that through that. But I do recommend doing your own project. You'll have to push yourself to do it in between all the modules, but definitely, for sure, if you find the time to do it, because that's something that you can add to your portfolio, and you'll get to know more things in the tech stack like that. Again, if you're going or aiming for a data science or a machine learning internship, which people try to go with, or they try to find a machine learning team or department in that company. If you're trying to do that, there's so much stuff online on YouTube. Just try it out, and again try to do your own project, because again that adds to your portfolio. It will give you more of an edge when you go for interviews and you say, I want to do machine learning, and they're like, okay, but what have you done in uni? And if you're in SC and CS, it's unlikely you might have done it unless it's for SDGP. But so that when you go there, you can be, I've done this. This is what I know. This is what I'm interested in. Because you can't just go and say, I want a machine learning internship, but not have any idea what you want to do with it, especially if you're SC or CS. So that. I wouldn't say there's a specific tech stack to specially focus on, because most companies are different. It's just that if you have the fundamentals down and the basics down, a lot of the companies have a small or a bit of a training period for you to get an idea. Especially if it's a company that uses its own framework, there's no point of there's what you learned in at IIT. It doesn't matter what language it is, because it's their own framework. You only get to learn it if you go and get into the company. But to get into the company, you need to know the concepts, and that's what they'll be looking at as an intern. Do you know your shit, basically? So you can apply to their framework. But yeah, I would say definitely Java is a good option. So front end, if it's Angular, React, now Flutter is also pretty big, so that. For back end, you have what was it? Again, I learned this in second year. The one.
Node.js, Next.js.
Node.js, yeah, those things. No, back end there was this specific one that we had to learn.
SQL?
No. I mean, okay, that's another thing. SQL is not like something you need to know anyway, for sure. But no, the backend framework, Spring, and there's another one that I don't remember, Spring or Spring Boot, or an alternative, whatever it is, just do it. So you get that experience of working, like, integrating both, working with components, that entire MVP, that whole idea, just to get a better understanding of it. Of course, there are companies that look for specific tech stacks, like there are companies that just work with Flutter or something like that. If you apply for those, of course, if you know that anyway, it's a plus. But like I said, a lot of companies pay for you to do Udemy courses or get that certification, or they give the training themselves. So I wouldn't worry about what you choose to do. It's just doing it. That's the important thing, having that project, because that'll at least then you can go to an interview and say, I did this in this tech stack, but I really got a grasp of these concepts. And if you can prove it in the technical aspect of the interview, they'll be like, okay, this is a guy we can train to work in our company. So that would be my advice. Just do something so you can show it.
So apart from the technical aspect of things, what do you think, in your opinion, the industry expects from an intern?
I would say for sure it will be working. You'll have to be someone who you can work with, like, in a team. They would want an intern who's not like, you'll make mistakes. They expect that, so don't worry if you make a mistake. But the more you do that, the more you learn from it. But definitely, like, working in a team, being responsive and being able to communicate, that particular soft skill is very important as an intern. Because when your supervisor or who you're working with asks, have you done this, and if you just leave them on red, that gives a very bad impression about you and as well as IIT, right?
Definitely.
That kind of thing. And don't slack off. Someone, even if it's tough for you to do the work, if you ask the right people in the right way, they will help you. That again comes with the communication, because if you don't know something, you don't do it, and then you have nothing to show for, and they'll be like, why didn't you tell us? Like, we could help you. That's what the rest of the team is there for. So I would say communication, and that being able to work in a team is two key things. And yeah, so you might not be able to bullshit your way through things when you're in the industry, because you're accountable for something when you're in the industry. They're definitely looking for those two things when it comes to soft skills. Other than that, the other things are probably like things that you will develop along the way. Presentation skills, it's good if you have it even before you go into the industry, but they will try to give you opportunities to develop that. Or if you can always ask, I want to try to demo this, and something like that. And critical thinking, problem solving, you learn a part of that when in your first and second year, but you develop it along the way. Yeah. So it's, again, great if it's there, and I think you can show that during the technical part of the interview, but those would be developed along the way. But the communication part especially, you have to actively ask questions, ask for help, let them know if you're struggling, and for sure don't leave them on red. Like, always respond to them and be respectful of them and their time as well, because they are not going to do your part of the work, but they can help you to extent, and then you have to carry on that part on your own, self-learn it, or like try to solve it too, even if it's like not, you don't solve the thing what you're supposed to do completely, but if you at least get halfway there, then they can point you to the rest of the way, and they can see that you have done something as well.
So now you're working as an associate software engineer at IFS while completing your final year.
Yes.
And you are still a part of Toastmasters as a district
official. Yeah. Okay. So
how do you manage all of this? I mean, how do you manage the stress? How do you manage your time?
Okay, so internship, I mean, it's obviously 40 hours a week, but then the offer, some people switch to part-time after that, but the offer I got was to switch to full-time as associate software engineer. And I mean, I know people have done like, working full-time while doing their final year, but I did not want to do that. So what I opted for was switching completely to part-time. So I did all of my modules except for FIP in the first year, and then stayed on an extra year just to complete FIP. That's what I'm doing right now. Yeah, I won't talk about that. But what helped was I don't regret keep working. And my company has been really accommodating with like giving me study leaves and exam leaves when I ask for it. So that has been a huge help. Another thing that really helped me was my friends who were in full-time batch who, kind of were in that academic mode more than me. Anything that I didn't know, I could always ask for them. When I try to manage my time as much as possible, that's why I maintain a calendar, because without that I won't be able to keep up with what I'm supposed to do, where I'm supposed to be. And I do try to tackle things early as possible. It sometimes doesn't go as planned, so I pull a all-nighter and try to complete the work. And because I have study leave also, I can take them if I need to. Being in Toastmasters, so last year I was the president, so of course I had to come for meetings. Actually, I think the fact that I was working full-time and doing studying part-time really helped, because I wasn't doing FIP, I could actually be present for meetings and attend events as the president. This year I am a district official. It's called the area director. So instead of there are a few clubs that belong to an area. So I'm basically helping my area, the clubs in my area, to achieve their goals. So it's not as hands-on as president, but there's a few more responsibilities, and I have to learn to work with the other clubs, a completely different kind of thing in itself. So because there are events that I'm expected to attend, and some additional different kind of rules, the responsibilities I have to fulfill, I have set some time aside for that, and I have minimized my time in other extracurriculars, and as well as turned down actually, have I turned down any opportunities? If there was, I would have to turn down, because I know I won't be able to manage my time with anything else. But yeah, I just try to maintain everything in my calendar and hope for the best most of the time. The hardest thing is, I guess, doing it then and there. That's something I'm still trying to learn, but I think it'll be okay. But yeah, you can check on me again after FIP and see if I survive this year, because I know next year there's going to be a lot of stuff clashing with my area director responsibilities and FIP, and of course work as well, because I still have to work that 40 hours a week.
So when you went into the industry, you got to meet new people, and there was no new responsibilities that was given to you. So, and there of course might have been struggles. So was there anything that you struggled with, or any challenges that you had specifically as a woman in tech?
I would say so. I only have the experience of being in one company. That's my industry experience so far. I think I'm very fortunate to work in a place where it doesn't matter what your gender is, or even how young or inexperienced you are, because it was honestly, I was really scared going into the industry, asking people, because they're senior than me, asking them for help or whatever, talking to them. But I was actually presented with a very friendly and welcoming environment, and I've actually not felt being a woman had made me any less so. It's just basically people helping me out to do what I'm supposed to do. So in that regard, yeah, I'm very fortunate, because I know it can happen, people get excluded, even if it's maybe professionally, like the professional aspect might be there, like you would all work together, but you might get excluded when it comes to more social aspects that are there in work. But it was actually not like that at all, because my team was very inclusive. We would ask people, oh, do you want to join in or not? And if you don't want to take part in something, there's an alternative, or like this, you're not like left excluded or out of the team. So in that regard, it was really, really great. And I never felt like, someone didn't take my opinion seriously just because I was a woman or just because I was an intern. And that really, really helped my self-esteem and validated everything going on. Because, just this week, my mentor at work suggested I give this suggestion to the team. And he's like, you do it, because this is because we're in like this mentor program. He was like, try this out, because you need to be a bit more outspoken in meetings as well. And I gave it. I didn't know what to expect, but my manager and the principal architect, they were like all for it, for the idea. They were like, yeah, let's do this, let's try to find some time and get this done. And having that kind of response from your seniors and the people you work with, it's really, really great. So
Definitely.
I feel like the tech industry is becoming more and more open to women, but it definitely depends on where you work with, because there's a lot of changes that can be done. I know it's not like that everywhere, and that's really, really sad and really exclusive to women. So I am very fortunate to have found a place, but there are places I would not consider just based on second-hand experience, like experience of other people that I've heard of, or just because of the work culture, or just how people felt about it. So I think even in, like, especially in Sri Lanka, there's definitely a lot we can do. There's a big difference between the amount of men who are in tech and the amount of women. So there's I would say, if companies, really depends on the culture. So if you find a good place, that's great.
All right, this has been a very enlightening conversation so far. We learned a lot, and we got your insights on how everything was during your timeline, handling everything that was online, offline, and everything like that. So to wrap it up, do you have any final words of advice that you'd give to a software engineering or computer science undergraduate, to
Or
survive?
just undergraduates in
Any
general.
undergraduate in general.
So first of all, now that we are definitely out of the COVID zone, and enjoy your life in uni, because once you go into industry, so like technically my final year, I'm not in uni anymore much because I'm working. That's even if you do masters or you do another bachelor, I don't think it'll be the same. So enjoy having now that full university experience as much as possible. Don't just stick to doing your courseworks and exams and all. That's gonna affect you later on, because doing extracurriculars help to build your character, as well as to manage things, manage your time, and it builds, like I said, it builds you as a person. And it's something, if when you go into the industry, the companies would also be looking for someone who can take part in events, not just work, especially sports and all. It's a big deal. Mercantile stuff, which I've realized. Don't just stick to your studies, and actually enjoy your life. Make good friends. They can support you, and they'll make your uni life also a very fun thing to be, not just something you need to get over to get a job and get paid. And at the meantime, prepare for when you go to the industry. The preparation is key, and try to learn from it. Tech skills as well as soft skills. And once you graduate, it's only a matter of time if you got your shit together. hopefully if the job market also opens up, because right now there's a freeze, you'll be fine. Yeah, just enjoy these 4 years that you have, and be prepared for the next step.